Really? Oh man, hello, everybody. It's Wednesday. Time for relationship conversations. I can't tell if people log on or not. Hold on. Oh, I gotta. Hold on.
Gotta what?
It should be. It should be showing up. Hold on. Hello. I'm trying to see if.
You need me
Okay.
to
Let me share it.
you need me to
Oh,
get your volume. Or you're not supposed to hear yourself.
I don't have to yet.
Right there.
I'm trying to
Okay,
share.
all right. Why are they showing me advertising on the mushroom?
Right. How they know?
For algorithms.
The cookie. I know.
The
It's
algorithm.
crazy.
It's so
Hey,
dumb.
y'all. You know they can hear you, baby. Wait. Hey, Rachel. I wonder can it show? Oh, it's showing up. Okay. Hey, y'all. Hey, Erica. Look at everybody. What's happening? Craig. Everybody on here. Okay. This is going to be a good conversation. We're excited. Hey, cousin. What's up? We don't have no music. So usually I would do music. He said, Craig said, here we go. It's not what y'all think. I realized that people probably thought this was going to be something that it's not going to be. So I don't know. We just going to have a discussion. This is my guest, my special guest. We just going to have a discussion.
Hello, everyone. I'm the special guest. Yes.
Hey, Bree. Hey, Bree. I see you, boo-boo. I'm just trying to see. Your comment didn't come up. I know. Hi, Alana.
What, Pooh? He got Pooh watch?
Hmm?
Oh, Lord. Hey, Pooh.
Hey, everybody. Thank y'all for
Hey.
tuning in. Hello. Hey, Deborah. Hey, Kia. All right. So he said, Hopper, who that man? You know who this You know who that man is. Silly. Make sure I move the stuff. Okay. So normally I would have music and everything, but ever since I played music one time and Facebook paused the whole Facebook Live, I'm just scarred. And people have been telling me that all I have to do is say you don't own the rights to this music, but I'm scared. So they got me shook. I just can't do it anymore. So I'm scared.
We have to test it out.
Yeah, we'll have to test it out one time because I do like to, have the music and stuff going, but I'm scared.
Okay.
All right. Okay. So welcome, y'all. Thank you so much for tuning in. This is another episode of Relationship Conversations. And let me turn the volume off my phone. This is another episode of Relationship Conversations. I'm so excited about tonight's episode as I am about others. But tonight I have my boo thing as a special guest. So I'll let him introduce himself. Who are you?
Hello, world. My name is Maurice Cartledge. 53, father of 2 daughters, twice married, blue collar worker, and a fantastic person.
Yes, very much so.
Mm-hmm.
What Craig talking about y'all dressed alike? It wasn't on purpose. It was not on purpose. He is so silly. So tonight we're going to talk about intentional dating, and I know people are probably figuring out what does that even mean. I asked the question, what does that mean? And it was just something that came to mind when I was talking to him about what I wanted to talk about tonight. That's the first thing that came to mind. And what I wanted to do was just give you some insight on the stuff that we usually talk about amongst ourselves. But I really appreciate the way Maurice thinks and how his mind works and just his perspective on things. So that's what I wanted to talk about tonight. So this is not like us talking about us and our journey and all that kind of stuff, because the story is still being told. And it would probably feel better if someone else were asking us questions about us, but that's not what this is about tonight. We're just going to have an open dialogue about intentional dating based on some of the things that he and I have talked about and some things that I learned about him Oh, look at all the sad faces. If you have questions, ask, but that's not what this conversation was going to be about. But if you want to know something, you can ask. But it would feel weird me asking him questions, and yeah, so it would just be weird. But anyway, so we're going to talk about intentional dating, what that means, and then get into into a discussion about it. But if you want to ask questions, feel free to chime in or whatever. You know, this is an interactive discussion, so we appreciate the feedback and your comments as well. So one of the things, just to get started, you have a very interesting story. So when you and I first met, you talked about, we getting to know each other and that kind of stuff. And you have an interesting story that I know I haven't heard many guys talk about. So I wanted us to share it tonight. So when we met, you had chosen not to be in a committed relationship for 5 years. And you were really intentional about that. So can you tell us a little bit more about that, how that came about?
Well, the way that came about was after my second marriage. My youngest daughter was 3 years old. And that process after that, maybe like a year and a half, I didn't really date anyone. And I started to date, found someone I was really interested in, fell in love, did the whole shebang, but didn't quite seal it with a marriage. And that lasted for about four years or so. Then about another year and a half went by, and I started another relationship that lasted maybe about a year. That gets me up until 2012, to my daughter's maybe about 12 years old. But from that point on, I decided that I didn't want to be in a committed relationship and have to introduce my daughter to someone else that was a significant part of my life, but the chances of that person not being permanent could come into play. So I didn't. So I was willing to take the chance to not actively date with purpose, so that I didn't have to introduce my daughter to anyone else. I basically said, until my daughter is grown, I won't seriously date anyone. I made a conscious decision not to do so.
So how did you do that? So I know that you weren't just single by yourself and not interacting with women. So what was that conversation like when you would meet women and you had made this decision for yourself? How did it come up in conversation, and how were the women, were they receptive to it?
Well, the way I phrased it was, okay. So when someone asks me about, am I open to a relationship, or what's my status on a relationship, um, the way I phrased it was, I'm not running to a relationship, but I'm not running away from one. And what that meant was, I have a wall up, so to speak, that's going to keep me away from a relationship. But if someone opens me up to the possibility of a relationship, if they show qualities that'll take me to another level or enhance me, or something that puts me in a place where I'm experiencing something I've never experienced before that could possibly be in a relationship, I was willing to compromise my stance. But
it had to be something.
that didn't happen. No one made me feel like that. Okay, I'm gonna go towards this relationship.
So I think one of the things that I find interesting is, I know for us women, like if a guy says, I'm really chilling right now, I'm really not trying to run to a relationship, but really not running away from one, like that can be very ambiguous. So as a woman, it's like, okay, well, once he gets to know me, then I'm going to, let him know who I am and all that kind of stuff. And then he'll want to be in a relationship with me once he gets to know who I am. And then a lot of times men are still kind of like on their stance and like, well, I told you I was just kind of chilling. So,
yes.
So how did you ever encounter that where you had your thought process or process about it, and then someone tried to convince you otherwise and you just weren't feeling it? Like, how did you handle that type of situation?
With honesty, I just told them up front, like where I was in my life and what my thinking was and what my intentions were. And I always took I always took it as, it was better to be honest and potentially hurt someone's feelings up front with where my stance was, as opposed to going with emotions, but not really putting any effort forward. And then, ultimately maybe letting someone expectations down of me or something like that.
Yeah.
But if I told them up front what it was, pretty much how it would be or where I was, and they knew what they were dealing with, they got to make an informed decision on dealing with me based on the information that I gave.
And that's the part that I appreciate about, I guess, your intentionality and your honesty, because a lot of times guys would just, they would say that, but then a woman can start catching feelings and they'll just kind of, string them along or whatever, and not really be honest with the woman when things start to shift or whatever. So I appreciate the fact that you said that even if, you ran the risk of hurting her feelings, the honesty would be what was most important, because I don't think a lot of guys feel that way.
Yeah, I think I'm just going. I'll say I think the average guy is willing to maybe do or say a little of what it might take just to get to a certain point. But then if they go beyond the point they really wanted to, then they're willing to step back or cut the person off or whatever the case. And you kind of like burn bridges with the interaction with people.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's a great quality in individuals.
Yeah. So I appreciate you just being honest. So it's like, and that can be hard for a woman, let's say, and we talked about this before, whereas, you talk to a woman and you say, hey, this is what it is, and being honest about how you feel, and then letting her know that I don't see this going any further, in a relationship, or I'm not there yet or whatever. That can be tough, not knowing how she's going to react, especially if she has started to catch feelings or whatever. That can be a tough situation. So have you had to handle anything like that?
Yes, I had one individual display her feelings, but I basically, I was sympathetic in that I understood, but I can't meet you where you are right now. I can't, and it would be a disjustice to you. Is that the word? Disjustice?
I don't know.
I'm making up words.
Disservice.
That would be a disservice. That would be unfair.
Yeah.
For me to pretend like I'm meeting you where you are, and it would be unfair to myself.
Yeah.
So I had to deal with that, and I had another person, another young lady. She just kept it simple. Like, she got a text telling me she was starting to feel a certain way. And the term she used was catching feelings, and I honestly told her, I said, well, you may want to hold on to those.
You said you told her you may want to hold on to your feelings.
Yeah, because I probably won't be able to match where you are, and I don't want to pretend like we're going somewhere, or it may go somewhere where I'm not necessarily ready yet.
So I'm laughing. It's not funny. I'm not laughing at her. I'm laughing at your choice of words. I always love the way that you phrase things. Like, if someone said they're catching feelings, so your response was, you may want to hold on. And you probably said it just like that.
Yeah,
you may want to hold on to those.
And I was I said, you may want to hold on to those because I know that where you may be, I know I'm not there, and I'm not going to pretend like I'm there. And if the feelings you have start to grow, and then mine aren't growing, I'm not going to meet your expectation.
Yeah.
So until I'm at a point where, I can open up, or I'm opening up, and I can meet you there, I'll do so. But until
I've never heard it said before. Like, someone said, I'm catching feelings. You may want to hold on to those because, just the choice of words is really cool. So what would you say? What is Jay talking about? It's okay to make up words. We understand, I think. Right. Hush, Malcolm.
No, I'm trying to use correct standard English here.
Right.
And don't let me get away with making up words.
Right. So Malcolm says honesty hurts, but being dishonest is a much deeper wound to recover from in time. Yeah.
And because of that, Malcolm, those individuals who I was honest enough to tell them up front, if I called them now, I could have a long, extensive conversation with them about life, about friendship. If I asked them, do they want to go out and have dinner? Can I celebrate them, help them celebrate their birthday or something? I would get a reception from all of them, every one of them.
Yeah, because you have a way about you, like, you see people as individuals and not just like someone to score or somebody to just get something from and then throw them away. You have a very unique way of looking at people, just seeing them as people, as human beings, and just relating to them that way, which I think is very admirable.
Okay. Well, thank you.
So what would you say? What would you say to a woman who is in a situation where, you know, a man has been upfront with her? He's saying that he's not really ready to pursue a relationship, or just that's not where he is in life. But she's still trying to hang on to wait him out. What would you say to her?
Wait him out? No, I would say don't wait him out.
Mm-hmm.
I would say keep your options open, keep him in mind, but don't limit yourself to this individual because you're setting yourself up for a potential disappointment
Mm-hmm.
and him not meeting your expectation.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't know what kind of timetable he's on because it might, if he's honest enough to tell you exactly the reason why, then you may have something good to work with.
Mm-hmm.
But if he's not honest enough to say, then you really don't know what you're working with. But
Yeah.
it just depends on where he is in his life and what he's trying to get done.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, you know, so you went through this situation, or just in this mode of thinking until your daughter got older, and just really not being purposeful or intentional about going towards a relationship, but you were being intentional about kind of setting your boundaries or whatever. What are the things that you would say helped you to set your boundaries so that you can kind of keep your stance of what you were trying to do?
Limit the interaction. Like I was always open and receptive to phone calls or texts or whatever, but I limit the physical interaction when it came to us being in each other's presence. I kind of limited to like casual acquaintances, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
You know, maybe a date here or a date there, but nothing that was like really regular because I didn't want to raise the expectation meter and then not fulfill my not meet them with their expectation maybe.
Yeah. And I'm just thinking about, from a woman's perspective, what that may feel like, because a lot of times we don't listen to what guys are saying. So it's like, you know, if me and my girlfriends are getting together and they encounter a guy like this, and it's like, well, he's not really texting me, he's not, you know, calling a lot or whatever, and I talk to him every now and then. And a lot of times women see that as a man playing games, he's not, you know, pursuing or whatever. But oftentimes you guys have already told the woman where you are, you know what I mean? And so what would you say to that woman who's like, he's playing games, he's doing this, he's doing that?
I would say that put more emphasis on what he does as opposed to what he says, because his actions will show you way more than his mouth could potentially tell.
So his actions. So basically, you're saying if a man desires, and I won't speak for all men, but for the most part, if a man, you know, really is interested in pursuing a woman, then his actions will show.
Yeah,
that.
he'll do that.
Yeah.
He'll make himself available. He'll reach out.
Mm-hmm.
He'll make sure the lines of communication are regular. All that kind of stuff like that.
Okay. So you're in this mode for a while, for about 5 years. Your daughter grows up and gets older. What shifted within you that you felt like you were open to entertain being in a serious relationship?
The fact that my daughter was about to graduate high school and she was becoming a young adult, and her perspective on life and things that matter, and her perception of her father, was more mature. So, during my self-analysis period, I told myself, okay, I'm probably ready as to where if I meet someone who can be significant in my life, I'm ready to expose them to my daughters. Yeah.
So let's talk about that, because I've heard a lot of guys talk about the importance of timing, like, that a man won't be ready to move on until he feels like it's time. So can you tell more about that? Like, what is this thing about timing?
Well, I think it's individually based. Like, for the most part, people in general, people in general, we know what we want for the most part. 85 to 90%. We know the other 10% might be a little cut, but you know what you want. If you were in a relationship for 8-9 years and your relationship broke off and you want to play the field, you know that. You know what I'm saying? If you were in a relationship for 10 years or whatever, and the relationship ended, but you are the type of person that want to be committed, you just want to make sure it's the right person. You know that. So.
So you just know. So
I'm thinking, people, we know what we want. We know what we want. If we look in the mirror, you know what it is, what you want. And once you've clear that for yourself, you take steps that put you in position where you can acquire what it is that you would like to have.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then you enter into this period where you're open, for something serious. What would you say you were looking for?
As far as an individual,
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking for someone who can meet me as far as like what my expectation of what a fulfilling relationship would be.
Mm-hmm.
Someone who shows the potential that you don't know that in the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
You know, all the qualities that make up a great person, and it'll be a great woman, or it'll be a good woman because they have the great qualities to make up a very good person.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, someone who's caring, someone who's unselfish and not self-centered, someone who you know, responsible, has a sense of responsibility, things of that nature.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. So then the early part of the year, you meet this woman, and then things change.
yeah, I was a little more open to uh, being receptive to what someone was wanting to give. But let me just say this, that during that period of about 5 years, I probably did meet some very good people,
Mm-hmm.
some very good women who probably had given the fair opportunity. I
Mm-hmm.
probably could have got something meaningful. Not to say it would have been, you know, for the long haul, but
Mm-hmm.
it definitely could have been something meaningful had I been in a frame of mind where I was necessarily open to, like as I am now,
Mm-hmm.
really open to a relationship.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
So I think I could say the same thing, like on it the same thing can be said on both sides. So it's not just a man saying, I'm trying to figure out when the
Right.
right time is. And like you said, you've encountered people, I've encountered people where it could have gone, but it's just when you know what type of frame of mind you're in. I know after my last situation, I really wasn't rushing into another relationship. I didn't want to. I wanted to take some time and just because I was going through a lot of stuff. Even when you and I met, I was going through some things, and it was like our process was kind of slow because I was dealing with some stuff, and I was
Right.
honest about that. And you were just kind of laid back and cool, so you didn't press me out about it. And I appreciate kind of the slow walking of the process so that I can deal with my stuff. And then just being the state of mind that I was just tired of, I wasn't going to put on a mask or anything like that. And it's like just the importance of being real, and being authentic and just being honest. Like, hey, this is what I'm dealing with. If you want to get to know me, then this is a part of, what's going on with me. And I
Right.
think, that's important too for us to just be honest about where we are.
I'm thinking that's probably one of the most important qualities that you can have in
Mhm.
getting to know somebody.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is being honest and being willing to see people for who they are
Mm-hmm.
and let them see you for who you are
Mm-hmm.
without fear of judgment.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Let me see. I see a lot of chatting going on. Let's see. Let's see if we miss anything. So
Okay.
Malcolm says, we know what we want is truly a self-awareness that we confirm with our actions and pursuit of it. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
We
So
know.
yeah, we
You
know.
know what you want.
Right.
If you want to be, um, if you want to sow your oats,
Mm-hmm.
your actions will show that because that's your motivation.
Yeah.
If you want to be committed and only have just singleness,
Mm-hmm.
you'll do that.
Mm-hmm. So Gary says, ladies, your expectations are valueless if you have daddy issues when it comes to picking a man. Clear those issues and then you pick. It's not the typical no good men is I don't know how to pick and I attract wrong dudes. I get I get what you're saying, Gary. I think it is important for us as women to deal with our daddy issues. I don't know that we 100% like deal with it all at one time. I know for me, growing up with daddy issues, it's been, a process. It's been a journey. I know my triggers. I know myself enough to know when I'm being triggered by something that's taking me back to my past. So I know how to manage it, but I don't know that we ever get to a point where we're not dealing with it. I think it's just and the idea of managing it. But I get what you're saying. If we're looking from the lens of pain, then we won't be able to see the good man that may be sitting in our face, or standing in our face. So I get what you're saying, just kind of clearing the lens a little bit so that we can really see what the truth is about this man and not seeing our father in this man. So I think I get what you're saying. I just think sometimes, it can come across as really harsh when you say, deal with your daddy issues, and it's like, okay, I can deal with them and recognize them and acknowledge them, but it doesn't mean that I won't be triggered sometimes. It doesn't mean that I won't come up, it won't come up sometimes. But that's when I think the importance of just honest conversation and communication. Even if I put it out there in the beginning, like, hey, I got daddy issues, you know what I mean? Just point blank, period. These are some of the ways that I'm triggered. Or even if, something happens between us and we say something and you say something and it just triggers me, then we can have a conversation about it, which we've done before. It's like, you know what? Yep, that hit a place that, is taking me back to somewhere else. And then we just have a dialogue about it. So I'm going within myself and I'm figuring out, okay, hey, that wasn't about Mo, that was about my daddy. So let me be honest about that. Let me journal, go through my process, but also let me make him aware of what's going on, just so that we can have open communication about it. So I think that's important. But yeah, I get what you're saying. I think on both sides, I think even if you flip the coin, it's important for men to deal with the issues that you come with. We're not expecting or anticipating you not to come with things. So that's something that, deal with y'all stuff too. Because y'all got
we
stuff.
all have a little bit of something.
Yeah, some men have daddy issues, some men have mommy issues, so.
Let me think, do I have any daddy issues?
Mm-hmm.
I figured if I do opposite of what he did, I might be okay.
Yeah. So just kind of getting back to the topic of intentionality, I think the thing that I wanted to lift up out of this conversation was the fact that you were intentional about what you were doing. Like, you knew that during that time period, you didn't want to get close to anybody because you didn't want your daughter to meet anybody else new, until she got of age to really understand and get, spend more time with you and that kind of stuff, before you introduce her to anybody else. So I appreciate that.
I didn't want her to feel like she had to compete for my time and my attention.
Didn't want her to feel like she had to compete for your time and attention. And that's a beautiful thing, that you would care for her enough to make that type of decision. You know what I mean? Because some people just go with their feelings. It's like, daddy got to get mine, and it's like the kids become a byproduct of that. And it's like, oh, well, you'll figure it out. You'll be all right. This daddy new wife or new girlfriend or whatever. You know what I mean? Yeah. So it's like, I appreciate the fact that you just took the time out just for you and her and didn't involve anyone else. So
you say triggers come out of nowhere?
Yeah, triggers can. I know for me, I can only speak for myself. Triggers can come out of nowhere. Yeah, they can.
I'm thinking you know where they come from. It's just if you're able to acknowledge it.
I know for me, you're not always aware, because it can happen. A song can come on the radio or a commercial can come on, or somebody can say something and you don't even know that it's a trigger until it hits. I know for me, it has to hit, and then I'm like,
maybe I'm playing on words.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's see what else we got going on. So, ladies, men will fool you. You have to learn his background. We will go with the flow. Ladies, you need a grown man that's not trying to sleep with you to tell you your man moves. Okay. All right.
Yeah, Carrie spilling the beans on that.
I know.
Trip.
He said, all right, Trip.
Yeah, he's spilling the beans. Only men don't have a problem with that is the ones who trying to play games.
Yeah.
And guys who own up and up, they won't have a problem with what he's saying.
Yeah. And that's the thing. Like, if you mature, if you know what you're looking for, then you're not gonna be, mad if somebody telling the truth about something.
Yeah, you might not like the truth, but at least you'll appreciate it. You're able to make an informed decision based on that truth.
Yeah. So what else? What else we want to talk about as far as intentional dating? And just, so we talked about timing. We talked about the fact that you were in a space where you had decided for yourself that you wanted to entertain, the thought of being in a permanent relationship, and then here someone comes along that piqued your interest, and then you pursued that person.
Yeah, pay attention to the signs. Like
Mhm.
it's a little tough. Gary said get to know someone's background, but
Mhm.
if you come from two different walks of life, you may not have access to a person's background. So what you have to do is pay attention to what they present to you from the point you met them on,
Mhm.
and attribute that to characteristics that you know are what you would like to have in a mate. You know what I'm saying? You know, as an example, if a person is not a good communicator, and you know you have to have a good communicator,
Mhm.
then you either want to encourage this person to get, to actively get the skills to communicate, or that person just might not fit the bill.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then you got to realize that, okay, some of the other qualities he has may not supersede him not being a good communicator.
Mhm.
You know, will make a good relationship.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
And so the intentionality is knowing what it is that you want, and
Right.
you may not get
That's the main
everything,
focus.
it's going to be a give and take, but knowing what your non-negotiables are, knowing, how when you're your highest and best self, what are those things that you need in a relationship? And I know for me, it was communication. It was someone who is gentle and just kind, and just gentle with my emotions. I know that I am sensitive, and how I was treating myself, I wanted someone who knew how to treat me that way, just naturally, organically. And so that was, some of the things that I know I was looking for or that I desired, that was non-negotiable for me. Like, you had to be gentle and a gentleman at the same time. Mm-hmm.
What was that? Malcolm? He said something
What is
about.
that? I don't know.
He said something about patience needed for intentional dating.
Right. Hold
Okay.
on. Yeah, so let me see. So Malcolm says, how about the patience needed in intentional dating? Yeah, you need patience. So what would you say about that, patience and intentional dating?
Uh, it kind of goes back to what you said about what you're willing to, like what is the deal breakers, like what are you willing to deal with. So
Mm-hmm.
the patience comes only if you see the potential of you being able to receive what it is that you will be waiting for, to have the patience for. But if
Mm-hmm.
this person doesn't show the ability to maybe um, change, or um, actively want to seek correction on whatever it may be that you're waiting patience for, then you might have to be willing to let that person go.
But so one of the things I know for some people, that's almost like a self-control that you have to have. So okay, so let's say you are in a space where you intentional about, what you want, right? But the people that you're encountering, they just don't seem to have the characteristics or the qualities that are best suitable for you. So it takes a level of patience to kind of wait and chill and not jump on the bandwagon, you know what I'm
Yes,
saying,
yes,
before,
yes,
or the
yes.
first person that comes along.
Right.
So it's almost like there's a sense of self-control that has to happen in order for you not to jump on every ship that comes on board. Like,
Right.
how do you maintain that when it's like you have these natural desires, that you want to be with someone, but who you're encountering is not really jiving with who you are as a person. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
how do you maintain that?
You may have to change the avenue in which you're meeting these individuals.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, I don't know, just to kind of be blunt, it's like, okay, if you fishing in this particular pond
Mm-hmm.
and you keep putting out those same kind of fish that don't quite fit the bill for the meal you're trying to put together, then you might need to fish in a different pond. So, if all the
Okay.
women you meeting at the club, you might want to change where you meet the women.
Okay. So
Right.
you're saying just go different places, meet,
Yeah, like broaden
to
your
broaden your
horizon.
horizon.
Yeah,
Okay. So be open.
right.
Okay.
And
All
also
right.
in that process, make sure that, continue with my analogy, make sure that the bait you're putting out there
Mm-hmm.
um, is supposed to draw the kind of fish that you're trying to get. You know what I'm saying? So,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay. That's interesting.
right.
So Lisa asked a question. Tell us how you knew that each other was the one.
Well, Lisa, we're still working on to make sure that the other person is the
Mm-hmm.
one.
Yeah.
But what we've gotten to know about each other up to this point is working very well.
Yeah. Like, I feel like I don't subscribe to the one, I guess. I feel like our story is still being written. Like,
Yeah.
we're still early into our process and on our journey. So it's like, so far it seems to be working well. Yeah. So I guess that's all I can say. I don't know that it's like, ooh, I knew from the day I met him he was going to
Right.
be. I don't. Mm-mm. I know some of the qualities that I was looking for that made me want to go deeper into something, into something more permanent with him. Um, but I can't say that we've gotten to the point where it's like, okay, we locked down. It's a journey. I
Right.
don't know. I don't know how else to put it.
And when we get to that point, we'll let you know. I'll tag you at
Yeah.
Lisa. I really realized she the one.
Yeah, so it's like we still figuring out. We're enjoying each other's company. We're having fun, and we're just
Working together
working together. Yeah,
and hopefully we'll be building together. So,
yeah, yeah. We'll let you know.
yeah.
Yeah. So Desiree says, always ask what you want to know about a person. Never feel like a topic is off limits. It's best to make an informed decision. Yeah,
Yeah, I agree with that to the
yeah,
beginning.
yeah,
And if a person can't be transparent for the most part, they can't
yeah,
be open and honest, then you don't want to deal with them. You don't want to deal
yeah.
with them anyway.
Right.
Yeah.
So Malcolm says, when they are truly worth it, you may be triggered, but know when he or she is not the trigger, but suppress emotions, not purge completely. Okay, yeah.
Mhm.
Ladies, men will float with you like a kite. Don't fool yourself. You think he in the foxhole with you, but he not. I tell my daughters truth about men and their actions. Okay.
Yeah. That's if they're deceptive, but all of us aren't being deceptive.
Mhm. Mhm.
Craig said somebody Craig said.
He said,
Okay, he being funny again.
"Yeah." So what about when a person has a lot of requirements, like having a code on your phone? That was from the from the single
Oh
life group. He's
yeah,
so
there you go.
silly.
Yeah, hold true to that, Craig. Nah, don't get. She don't have the code on my phone yet. Hold true to that.
But it's like I have personal stuff in my phone. He has stuff in his phone.
Yeah,
Conversations with our friends. Like I don't want him to
right. There
know
you
what me and
go.
my girlfriends be
And I
talking
don't
about.
need and I don't need to know. I don't need
Yeah,
to know.
but it's like I don't. So it's one of those things where I don't mind having access to the phone. Like if you
Right.
need to get in it for something, so
There
it's
you
not like
go.
I'm hiding it to be like you will never be able to see what's in my
Right.
phone. It's not coming from that place, but it's like you can have it here, you can have, but don't be
Right.
going through all of my stuff because we talk about real private stuff that's for me and my girlfriends, not for him to see.
It's
So
whatever. If you and your
yeah,
girlfriend share pictures, if y'all share fantasy boy toys pics, I don't need to see that. But if
yeah,
that's just for you,
right,
that's a girl thing. It's
yeah,
okay.
right.
I'm not gonna be in my feelings because you have that. But
Hmm.
I don't need to go to your phone to try to see if you got that kind of stuff.
I think the thing is it's about trust. Like if it's one of those
Yes.
things where you feel like you need to hide your phone, like that's a whole nother
Right.
situation where you feel like, okay, every time somebody comes, he or she comes around and I need to hide it, and that's when, things can get
Right.
a little shaky.
There you go. Yeah.
Yeah.
We don't have that issue, and we
Hmm.
won't have that issue.
Yeah. So Malcolm says naturally companionship is a lot more soothing than cosmetic companionship. It's more
Yes.
soulful connection than of the flesh. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just natural. It's not something that you have to create and I know what it feels like to create something. You know what I mean? Just try to
Mhm.
make it be something that it's not. Like it's exhausting. It's a lot of work. So it's better when it's organic and it just flows and it just happens. Um,
Craig, tomorrow, what about your question? We answered
he's
it.
so silly.
Hold on to your number, Craig. You ain't gotta share your swipe
Yeah.
with whoever. No, hold on to it.
Tanisha said, "Is it just me or do they look alike? We look alike."
Um,
That's so we
it's just
really
you.
so we really
Tamika, no,
cousins.
Tamika, it's
And
just you. It's just you.
that's
No, we
Tanisha.
don't look alike.
So we really cousins, and so
Right.
yeah, until we get the blood test.
Okay.
Desiree says relationships are the culmination of the individual wills of those involved. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
If two people want it, then they'll work towards
Yeah. Yeah.
it.
It's
Okay,
just one
somebody
of those
said I
things.
need him to something. What they need me to do?
Mama Tina said I need him to bring that Barry White voice up, please.
Oh,
Oh, she can't
okay.
hear
There
you.
you go. I'll speak a little louder. Yes, I'll speak a
She
little
can't
louder.
hear
Yeah,
you.
yeah, I'll speak a little louder.
You got a little Barry White on.
Okay, here we go. As a single 20-year man, as a female, like I know relationships go through storms, but as a couple, where we go?
I
As a
think
couple,
when you have a friend, you're
man.
not supposed to die. Everything will be okay. Okay.
Yes,
Hmm.
yes.
Yeah. And then Malcolm says, "Damn, Mo, I thought Mo looked like Cousin Pete." Why is he so silly?
Ah.
He is so silly. So
I'm little cousin Lucky.
silly.
Right. That's it.
So yeah. So we just wanted to come on here and share the intentionality of, and it, like I said, it wasn't about us telling our story and all that kind of stuff, because the story is still being written. So that's not what we came to talk about, but it was just more about just being intentional about dating and how we're going to, whether we're choosing to be in a serious relationship, and when we're not, to be honest about it, you know, and just to be honest with the other person, whether they want to hear it or not, whether it's going to hurt their feelings or not, because it does help in the long run. I know when somebody was really honest with me, like we went out on a date and then he kind of pulled back. And so I was wondering, because things were seeming to going pretty well, and then he pulled back. And so I was like, I wonder what happened. And he was honest. He was like, you know what? Somebody else came along that I wanted to pursue, so I just didn't want to string you along. And I appreciated that honesty, you know, because, and I don't think a lot of us are as honest with each other. I think a lot of times people go ghost, or, you know, they don't want to tell the truth about how they're feeling, so they just shut down. But I just think just communication and just being honest about how you feel, it really helps. And I know I've been guilty of just ghosting people. I've done it, you know, so I'm not saying that it's right, but I know I've done it. But it's, you know, I'm just learning that just use your words. Like you tell little kids, use your words. Like it's okay to talk about what's going on and how you're feeling, whether they want to be with, you know, whether they like it or not.
Let's see. The break.
Don't be going out with 2 to 3 people without disclosure. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Just be honest, especially in the beginning. If you're dating somebody, you know, if you're just meeting somebody, then it's like almost a given that they could be entertaining somebody else. You know,
you should almost assume that, to the point where it's like just being open. That's all. Like, okay, because eventually, if you get this person's attention, they'll wean off the others. They'll wean off the others. So yeah, without a doubt.
Craig said you gotta ghost some folks. No, Craig, just be honest with them. What you mean you gotta ghost?
No, you don't have, Craig. You don't have to ghost them. You have to be honest enough to say, look, we probably won't connect, because for what it is I desire, I don't know if you and I can have it.
Craig must be running into some crazy people that's like they're gonna slash his tires if he's honest with them.
Be what I want to say, be sympathetic and be sensitive in your honesty.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes, you know, you want to get the message across, so you don't want it to be necessarily how you say it. You know what I'm saying? So I would say take all that consideration, but definitely use the honesty. I know for any time someone who was willing enough to share the honesty, I appreciate it. And most of the time they probably thought they might were going to hurt my feelings, and they end up not hurting my feelings. They have ghosted me. Yeah, I've been ghosted before too, Craig. And actually, probably being ghosted hurt my feelings more than what someone could have been up front and told me. You know, I don't. Yeah, because I see myself
didn't
as
think y'all cared.
No, I see myself as a really great person. I just happen to be a guy, but I'm a great person. So for somebody to, like, all of a sudden they don't want to talk to me for whatever reason, like, what could I possibly have done or said to where that you couldn't say to me, you know what, Maurice, I like you, but I like Calvin better.
Yeah.
You know, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
So just, okay. So men have feelings too.
Oh, what have I done?
He said Craig getting stalked by them plenty of fish goes. He's so silly. So Tamika said, do you assume the other person is seeing more than one person until you have a convo about being exclusive?
I would say have that in mind, but if you want to be specific about it, then you ask. But I know for anybody that I met, I didn't, I won't necessarily say I assumed that they were dating other people, but I knew the potential for that could be prevalent. So I kept open mind that, you know, that may be the circumstances. And until I showed myself to be someone that they may want to look at exclusively, that's the perspective I kept.
Yeah.
Have a conversation about it.
He said, I'm bringing stuffed fish over tomorrow.
You know I don't eat fish either.
Right.
Bring some sweet potatoes.
Right.
Some yams. That's what you bring.
Oh man. Okay, well, this has been fun. I think we pretty much talked about all that we said we was gonna talk about.
Well, what you wanted to talk about, like, were I able to give your audience the information that you sought to get from me? That's
I
the key.
think so. I
Yeah.
think so. We were talking
Okay.
about you being intentional, you knowing what you want, and then when the timing was right, in your mind, then you pursued what it is that you
Well, it is
desire.
hard being on the market still. Hard. Well, define hard, Jay. Give me an example of what hard being on the market. Because for somebody who was single for like 5 years, I'm not. I wouldn't be able to stuff with veggies. I wouldn't be able to. I don't understand like hard because I never saw it as being hard.
Mm.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
maybe you can give me an example and I can kind of identify where you're coming from.
Mm-hmm. So Desiree says, so my God are taking, and we just concluded that men have to ghost because women want to know why they aren't the chosen one, and men don't ask.
Hmm. I don't know. I guess if you feel the need to know, like
If you feel the need
to know why you weren't the chosen one, like
Oh.
there, like I don't know how much self-assessment for myself would that I would worry about why I wasn't the one that somebody chose.
You said something.
I look at it like their loss, so
Yeah.
that's why that wouldn't.
You said something yesterday about if somebody might not be somebody else's cup of tea. An analogy that you gave yesterday, like when you walk in the room, if there's 5 guys and 5 women, someone can, just like you can deem somebody as unattractive, somebody can deem you as unattractive.
Right. So the analogy I gave was that if I walked into a room with 10 women, I might find 6 of them to be attractive or in their appearance or whatever, and the other 4 I might not be attracted to.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that means I resign to the fact that if a woman walked in a room and it's 10 guys and I'm one of the 10 guys, I might be one of the 5 or 6 that she's attracted to, or I might be one of the 4 or 5 that she's not.
Mm-hmm.
So I realized that if I can be that way, then someone else could think that way about me. So.
Yeah. So it takes it helps not to make it so personal if someone chooses
someone
not
other than yourself.
Other than yourself. If you know that you have qualities within yourself, that's the bomb. Then someone else will be able to see that, but you got to see it first. And if somebody doesn't see that, it doesn't mean there's anything wrong with you. It's just
you just might not be the cup of tea that they're trying to drink.
Yeah.
That's all.
Oh, look it up.
That's it. Yeah.
Cup of tea that they're trying to drink. Mm-hmm.
Doesn't mean
you know how many teacups? I know all this tea, all the different flavors of teas and all the different teacups. Like it's just you're just meant for another cup. That's all.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. He's just not that into you. Yep, that's probably it.
Basically.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Let's see. Okay, let's see. Jay Gibbons, let's see. Single for 5 years in my career field. I'm building and growing my empire. I'm at a point where I'm ready for marriage and family and having responses. I'm tired of hearing women say how good men like me
are lame and thirsty. Just like every dude. Well, I don't know.
No, I'm gonna say this to you, Jay. Just my recommendation. Mm-hmm. Be yourself. Be who you are. Present yourself as who you are, and the right individual will get to know you and accept you for who you are. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, it may take the process of that happening may take months, might take a few more years. Mm-hmm. But you want to be able to be accepted for who you are, without a doubt.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Basically. So Desiree says. So Kia was saying, why can't they just tell the woman why? Why can't a man just tell the woman why?
They can, but I think for the most part, my experience as a guy is that the fear of hurting someone's feelings, along with some men just don't have the intestinal fortitude to be honest enough to say it. That's what it is. It's a combination of they're just not that honest because they're worried about what you think or what you say afterwards, and for fear of seeming insensitive to tell you about what it may be. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Like, say for instance, you find somebody to be somewhat appealing, but their hygiene isn't good. And at this grown age, if I got to tell you about your hygiene, we probably I I don't need to have that talk with you.
Yeah.
So, you know, a guy may be like, I gotta tell her she need to bathe more often. That ain't gonna work for me. So I'd rather just don't say no. Like, you know what, sweetie, this ain't gonna work. That's it. Let somebody else be the one to tell her that. And then that's it. Well, but me being kind of honest like I am, I might have to tell her.
You're not gonna tell her that.
Hey, I'm gonna find some way to say like.
Desiree said because he can't tell her that her lazy eye and bad breath won't work for him. I mean,
That's it. That's basically what it is. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
because it seems insensitive and
Mm-hmm.
and judgmental. It seems insensitive and judgmental. It does.
But
it's truthful. But the thing is, she probably would appreciate that more than just the ghost.
Yeah.
The average person probably would. They probably would than the ghost effect.
Yeah, she might go off on him though because she might feel a little embarrassed that he knew that her breath was stank. But I guess
now that tells her, okay, I got to work on my breath. She might not like it, but she got to work on her breath.
I guess so.
Yes. Yeah, that's it.
Be like, here's a peppermint. Y'all silly tonight. Y'all cutting
dental
up.
appointments at Johnson's Family Dentistry.
Some people just have naturally unfresh breath, even when they go to the dentist.
Right, but that's due to what you put in your body.
True. Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
And how you take care of your dental package.
Your dental package.
Your dental package.
So Malcolm says, hurting a woman is not an act of honesty when a woman is really hurt by it. If they are a highly emotional person, you don't know how she's going to react. Example, acrimony.
Gotcha.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's, okay.
I think, but the potential of not letting them know or going with the flow until the truth comes out on its own, that to me, that has the potential to be worse.
Yeah.
So, but,
that is true. Somebody is highly emotional, then anything you say can
and in that
make
case,
them feel hurt.
Maybe just not, I don't say you have to ghost them, but you just might have to be honest enough to say, you know what, the kind of conversation that you and I probably need to have about what this is, we probably can't really have this kind of talk.
Mm-hmm.
And then they just got to accept the fact that you don't want to talk to them about it.
Right.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
Okay, so Kia said, okay, you'll text me. Okay.
Right.
Kia gonna give me the 411. Okay. All right. Well, it's almost 9:00. And
is it?
Yes.
An hour went that quick?
It goes by fast.
Oh, wow.
And then people was on here
7 minutes.
clowning. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Y'all was on here clowning with these comments. So that was fun. So yeah. All right. Well, this was fun. I hope you got something from it. Intentional dating. Just tell the truth. Know what you want. Tell the other person what you want, so they won't be trying to guess.
There you go.
Mm-hmm.
Know what you want.
Yeah.
Present yourself in that way,
mm-hmm.
and be honest about pretty much any and everything.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And that's it. All right, y'all. Well, have a lovely Thanksgiving.
Twins.
Funny how time flies when twins are online.
We don't look alike.
We don't look alike at all.
I only have 2 eyes.
Shut up. Whatever. I ain't gonna say what I want to say. Shut it up. Oh man. Okay. Well, love y'all. Thank y'all, and eat good because I know I'm gonna eat good.
Okay. It's the happiness they see. That's what makes us look like twins.
Yes. We happy, y'all.
Okay.
Definitely. Okay. Bye. Good night. Miracles and blessings. And so the next 2 weeks, I'm not going to have a live. I'll probably do a repost because I am going out of the country. So I'm excited about that. Is it next week? No, not next week, but the week after next. I'm going faster than I think.
Dorian kind of late.
I know. Right. Okay. So the first 2 weeks in December, I won't be broadcasting because I'll be out of the country, but that's not next week. So we will be broadcasting next week. It's going to be a really great conversations with 2 of my sisters, Nefertiria and Denisha, and we're going to talk about head versus heart in relationships. And I'm so excited. We got some good stuff to talk about. So we're talking about head versus heart next week, and then 2 weeks after that, I'm not going to have a live. Okay. So good night, everybody. Thank y'all for tuning in, and I will see you next week.